this. All right, so we got 14.3 and 14.4 in the schedule for today. Before I get started, are there any questions, comments, concerns about anything? No, everybody good? All right, so let me go ahead and get started. I'm gonna, like always, turn off my camera, share my screen. Any point in time you guys have any questions or anything, unmute yourself because I can't see the chat. So let me go ahead and get started with that and do 14.3. So 14.3 and 14.4 is sort of repetitious in the sense that they sort of talk about, you know, different ways of factoring trinomials. And so I'll show you the two ways. The first one is basically what they call a trial and error. And so I'll go ahead and show you guys that and then kind of get started with that. So trial and error, and then 14.4 is the AC method. Obviously, after the fact, you guys can decide, you know, which one you guys prefer to do. 1 second, this thing is not. All right, there you go. So one of the first things that you do when you're faced with a trinomial that you have to factors, you want to see if there's any GCF that you can factor from it first. Then in this method here, you're going to list all the factors of A. And so remember, trinomial is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And so you're looking at the coefficient of the square term, which is A, and then also factors of C. And then once you do that, what you're going to consider is which one of those will add up to B. And so when you factor it, right, you list the factors of A, you list the factors of C, and then you sort of put them in this order. So the A factors go first in the parentheses, the C factors go second in the parentheses. And then what you're looking for is the combination that'll give you the value of B. Now, if none of the factors produce the correct product, then at that point in time, you can say that it's a prime polynomial. So a prime polynomial, you can't factor it this way. You can find the solutions, but not the way not by factoring. And so here we have the first example. And so one of the things that we're going to do is list out the factors of 10x squared, right? So I tend to write it as 10x squared. Actually, one, you know, it's going to be easy. It's just going to be 1 and 1. Or -1, -1. So 10 will have, oops, let me go back to that one. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we'll have 5x and 2x. We'll have x and we'll also have 10x. And so 5x times 2x is 10x squared, x times 10x is 10x squared, right? 1 times 1 is 1, -1 times -1 is also 1. And so what we're looking for is the factors here that will give me 11 in the middle when I turn around and I multiply it out. So I'm going to start off with the 5x and the 2x. And so here I'm going to do the +1 and +1, and we're going to see, right? So 5x times 2x, we know that's going to be 10x squared. 5x times 1 is going to be 5x. 1 times 2x is going to be 2x, but that's not going to give me my 11 that I need. And so therefore, this is not going to be, hold on a second, because this is really acting up today. Let me get back to my screen here so I can get back to this. Let's see. So 10x squared. We have 5x and 2x. We have x and 10x, and then 1, 1 and 1, and then -1, -1. Hopefully it doesn't do it again. So we know that the 1 and the 1 doesn't work, right? So we're going to go ahead and try the -1. So 5x times 2x, again, we know that's going to be 10x squared. That's going to be -5x, -2x. That's not going to give me what I need. I don't know why it's not erasing. Hold on a second. Oh, there it goes. And so what we're going to do is just kind of try a different combination, right? So right off the bat, we know that the 2x and the 5x is not going to work. So we're going to try the 10x and the x. This is really cooperating with me right now. So we're going to do the 10x and the x. We're going to do the 1 and the 1, the positive 1 and the positive 1. So 10x times x, we already know that's 10x squared. 10x times 1 is going to be 10x. 1 times x is just going to be x, and then 1 times 1 is going to be 1. That's going to be my 11x. And so the factored form of this one turns out to be 10x plus 1 and then x plus 1. And so it's the trial and error method simply because you have to try different combinations, right? To sort of get to back to the original. And so again, you list out the factors of the first term, you list out the factors of the last term, the a x squared, and then the c, and then you're trying to get to the middle term, which is the bx term. Questions on that one? Yeah, let me go to the next one. So here's the next one, right? So we're going to do factors of 3b squared. So when they tend to be prime, it makes life a little bit easier. And so here we have 1 and 4, and we have 2 and 2. And so we're going to go ahead and try these different combinations to see. So obviously the only choice we have is the 3b and the b. So we're going to go ahead and do 1 and 4, right? Those are the first values that we have. And so 3b times b, we know it's going to be 3b squared because that's how we, split it up to begin with. 3b times 4 is going to be 12b, and then 1 times b is going to be b. That's going to be 13b, so that's not the combination. And so we're not going to do the 4 and the 1 because that's not going to give us what we need. And so let me just get here, I'm going to get the 2. So 3b and b, it's my 3b squared. 3b times 2 is going to be my 6b. 2 times b is going to be my 2b, and then 2 times 2 is 4, and that's going to be my 8b. And so therefore, this is going to be equal to 3b plus 2, and then b plus 2. And so you can see again, and that in this case, obviously, sometimes you get it right away, right, with the first sort of combination that you get. And then obviously, if you don't, then you have to try another combination of factors. And so that's why it's called a trial and error, because sometimes you'll end up, testing multiple combinations of factors and until you get, in this case, and we get to the 8b. And so again, list the factors of the ax squared, list the factors of c, and then see if you can add up to the bx. Questions on this one?
So I wasn't here on Monday, but I'm trying to figure out, so are you just multiplying it by that second number in each parentheses?
So I'm doing the 3b times the b, which is this one. And then I'm doing the 3b times the 2, which is the 6b. And then I'm doing the 2 times the b, which is the 2b. And then those are the two that I need to get to 8b.
I'm kind of confused what you just said.
Oh, so all I'm doing is really foiling. So I'll do the 3b times the b, right? That gave me the 3b squared. I'll do the 3b times the 2, which is the 6b. Then I'll do the 2b times the b, which is the 2b. And so those two middle terms is what I'm trying to get to 8b. And so once I see the 6b and the 2b, then I know I'm done, right? Because I know the 2 and the 2 is going to give me the 4. I know the 3b and the b is going to give me the 3b squared, right? Because I sort of listed those out. So I'm just looking for those two middle terms to get me to that 8b.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense now.
Did that answer your question? Sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't here on Monday, so
right.
That's my fault. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so given the trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c, a is greater than 0, the signs can be determined as follows, right? If c is positive, then the signs in the binomials must be the same. The correct choice, obviously, here is determined by the middle term. If the middle term is positive, then both signs must be positive. The middle sign is negative, then both signs must be negative. So remember, if c is positive, then both signs are the same. Oops, let me get back to that one. Hold on a second. This is really, okay, there you go. So this is the example 20x squared plus 43x plus 21. C is positive and they both have the same sign simply because the 43x is positive. Here we have 20x squared minus 43x plus 21. Again, C is positive, but the signs of the binomials are the same because it's a negative 43x, so they both have to be negative. So yeah, negative. So if C is negative, then the signs in the binomial have to be different. And so the middle term in the trinomial determines which factor gets the positive sign, which gets the negative sign. So here we have x squared plus 3x minus 28. C is negative, and you can see the different signs within the binomials, if you will. Again, C is negative, negative, different signs. So here we have the next example. So I'm going to rewrite this one. I'm going to rewrite it as 8y squared plus 13y minus 6. So we're looking for factors of 8y squared and factors of negative 6. So negative 6 is going to be negative 2 and 3, 2 and negative 3, 1 and negative 6, negative 1 and 6, right? So you lay them all out there. 8 is going to be 8y and y. And it's going to be 2y. Hold on a second, because this is really sensitive today. 2y and 4y. And so that's really all that we have. Now, one of the things that I do want you to be aware of is that notice that I have a 2y and a 4y, but I have a 2 and a 3 and a 1 and a 6. So one of the things that you can eliminate some pairings is that you don't want to put factors within the same parentheses. So if I have a 2 and a 6, I don't want to pair up the 2 and the 6. Because if I do, then 2 and a 6, I can factor out a 2. So you don't want to have to factor something else after the fact. Now I have 8y and y, I have a 2 and a 3. So again, I don't want to pair the 8 with the 2. I have the 4 and the y, I don't want to pair the 4 with the 6. I don't want to pair the 2 with the 6 and so on. And so you do have sort of some things that can sort of make it a little bit faster for you. So I'm going to do 8y and y, right? So now at this point in time, I'm going to do the 3 and I'm going to do the negative 2, right? So remember, I wouldn't pair the 2 with the 8 because then I can still factor out a 2. And so now I'm going to go ahead and multiply these out to see if I can get to the 13. And so I got 8y and y, which we know it's going to be 8y squared. 8y and negative 2 is going to be negative 16y. 3 and y is going to be 3y. And then 3 times negative 2 is going to be negative 6. Now here, I'll end up with negative 13y. So that's not the sign that I want. I want a positive 13y. And so I tried the negative 2 and the 3. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it, right? So I'm gonna change the signs here. I'm gonna change the sign. So this one's gonna be a negative and that's gonna be a positive, right? I'm gonna multiply it out again. 8y and y is 8y squared. 8y times 2 is gonna be 16y. Negative 3 times y is gonna be negative 3y and then negative 6. And you can see that if I have 16y minus 3, I'll end up with 13y, which is exactly what I started out with. And so the factored form of the original ends up being 8y minus 3 times y plus 2. And so, again, you can see that we did try the negative 2 and the 3. That didn't work out. And so the next one that we did was the 2 and the negative 3, and that's the one that worked out for us. Now, automatically, I did not pair the 2 with the 3, right? So for the same reasons that I just finished stating. And so that sort of eliminated that extra step, if you will. Questions on this one? All right, moving on to the next one. So here we have another one. So I'm going to rewrite this one. So it's going to be 6w squared minus 25w plus 4. So I'm looking for factors of 6w squared and factors of 4. Right. So 4 is going to be 1 and 4. It's going to be 2 and 2. I also can do negative 4 and negative 1, and then negative 2 and negative 2, right? Just for the sake of it. And the reason being is because the 25w is negative, so I might have both negatives. Remember some of the rules that they laid out for us at the beginning. So here I have 2w and 3w, and I also have 6w and w. So I'm going to try different combinations of these. So I'm going to try the 6w and w first, right? And so I'm going to do the +1 and the +4. Now, right off the bat, I know it's not going to be +1 and +4 because the -25 is negative, right? And so if I do 6W times 4, I get 24W, 1 times W, I get 1W, and so that's going to give me a positive 25W. And so since I'm almost there, I know that the only thing that I need to do for this one is just change my signs. And so I tried this one out, that didn't work out, now I'm trying this one. And so again, I don't pair the 4 with the 6 because I can still factor out a 2. So 6W and times W is 6W squared. 6W times -4 is negative 24W. -1 times W is negative W, and that's going to be a positive 4. And so here I have my negative 25W. Oops. Yeah, this is really not working out with me today. Hold on a second, let me make sure I get it to the right spot. I don't understand, right? So there you go. So we have 6W minus 1 and then W minus 4. And so again, trial and error method is one of those things where, but believe it or not, it's really, when we go to the AC method, it's essentially what I'm doing right now. The only difference in the AC method is that you actually multiply A and C, but essentially, these two different ways are, probably some of the fastest way that you can sort of factor out trinomials. Questions on this one?
So basically, we're just multiplying directly across with each parentheses. I'm trying to figure out how we.
Yeah.
So
So
would you
what
be able to
do-
draw like lines to each one that we're multiplying by?
Yeah, you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way so you can see it. So here we'll do A times C, right? And then we'll do A times D. And then we'll do B times C, and then we'll do B times D. So essentially that's what you're doing. And so obviously the AD and the BC are going to combine into one term. The AC and the BD, usually you can't combine those two. So that's how you'll end up with the 3 terms. And so the 2 middle terms, basically, you're just going to end up simplifying those, combining like terms, if you will. So it's FOIL, which is first, outside, inside, last, basically. So you do the first, so A times C are the first terms. The outside terms is A and D. The inside terms is B and C, and then the last terms will be B and D. And so that's what the FOIL stands for. Did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next one. So here we have a trinomial, right? So we have 40x to the third minus 104x squared plus 10x. So right off the bat, I can see that I can factor out a 10 or an x, right? So I'm going to go ahead and factor out an x. Then the other thing is, can I factor out anything else from this, right? Can I factor out the 104? Can I reduce the 104 basically? And so what I'm trying to see is, are there values here that will divide each one of these even, right? And so if I try 2, right, 40 divided by 2 is going to give me 20. 104 divided by 2 is going to give me 52. And then 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5. And so I'm going to try 2x, right? And so, good Lord. So that's going to be 20x squared minus 52x plus 5. Right? And so I'm looking at these, right? The 20 and the 52, they're both even, but 5 is not even. And so I can't divide by 2 basically. 5 is obviously 5 is divisible by 5, but 52 is not divisible by 5. And so therefore I can't factor out a 5. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. So now what I'm going to try to do is find the factors. Now the 52 is negative. So I'm going to go ahead and try the negative, and the C term is positive. So I'm going to try the -1 and the -5. Here I'll have 20x and x. I'll also have 4x and 5x, right? Those are the factors of 20. And so here I have my 2x. That's the first one I factored out. I'm gonna go ahead and try the 4x and the 5x, and I'll go up again, you know, if I need to. So I'm gonna do the -5 with the 4 and the -1 with the 5 for the reasons that I said before, right? I'm not gonna pair up the 5x with the -5 because then I can still factor out a 5. So now I'm gonna multiply this to see if I get to where I need to get. So 4x and 5x is going to be my 20x squared. 4x times 1 is -4x. -5 times 5x is -25x. And that's going to be a +5. So you can see here that I'm going to end up with -29x, which is not what I need. And so therefore that combination is not going to work for me. Simply because it's not, you know, something that I can use. So next one, I'm going to try the 20x and I'm going to try the x. So I am going to do the -1 with that one and a -5 for that one. The reason I don't pair up the -5 with the 20 is I can still factor out a 5. So here I'm going to do 20x times x is my 20x squared. 20x times -5 is going to be, in this case, is going to be -100x, right? So if I multiply those, -x and then the +5. So you can see that at that point, I'm not going to end up with my 52 because 100x minus x is 101x, and that's not what I need. And so at this point in time, I tried all the possibilities, right? So I tried the 4x and the 5x, that didn't give me my 52x. I tried the 20x and the x, that didn't give me my 52x. And so therefore, at this point in time, this is factored as much as possible. So there's really nothing else that I can do there to sort of get that factored, simply because there are no factors of 20x squared and 5 that are going to give me the 52x that I need. But
So
yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
would we not do 2 and 10, or does that not work
2 and 10.
for the 20x? Is that, do we,
Oh, let's let me do 2x and 10x. Let me try that one here. My computer wasn't working, now my head is not working. Let's try that one. Let's see if that one might work. So 2x and 10x. Good Lord. I'm telling you, man, this computer today is batting 1,000. All right, let's see. So 2x and that's going to be my 20x squared, right? Minus 2x minus 50x plus 5. And that's -52x. I appreciate you telling me that, because I would have just kept going. Maybe I have to slow down a little bit, not worry about my computer, worry about my brain working. All right, so 40x to the third minus 104x squared plus 10x will give us 2x times 2x minus 5 and then 10x minus 1. So I do appreciate you bringing up with the 2x and the 10x. That completely escaped my head here this morning or this afternoon. And so that gave us the factored form of that. So, and I do apologize for that mistake. But you can see here, obviously trial and error, right? Different factors. I do apologize for missing those 2 factors. And those should have been pretty straightforward. I completely missed those. I was stuck on the 4 and the 5 for a minute there. All right, let's go to the next one. So this one, I'm going to leave this one for you guys as extra credit. I don't know if you guys take a moment to write that down or not. I'll give you a little bit of time to write them down. I do post a note, so just a heads up on that. All right. Moving on to the next one. All right, so here's another one. So in this one, we have -45x squared minus 3xy plus 18y squared. And so what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out a -1. And so I have 45x squared, and I have, this really needs to start cooperating with me. And I have -18y. And so here I'm going to have 5x and 9x. I'm gonna have 45x and x. Here, I'm gonna have negative 18y and y. I'm also going to have 18y and negative y. I'm also going to have here, I'm gonna do negative 3y and 6y. And I'm gonna have 3y and negative 6y, negative 2y and 9y, and then 2y and then negative 9y. And so 5 and 9 is 45, 45 and 1 is 45. I can also do 3 and 15. And obviously I got 8 negative 18y and y, 18y negative y, negative 3y, 6y, 3y negative 6y, negative 2y, 9y, and then 2y negative 9y. And so I have to keep that negative, right? So that's the factor, the GCF that I took out. I'm gonna go ahead and try for this one, I'm going to go ahead and try the 9 and the 5 first. Right, and so I'm going to basically try this combination that I have here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try the different versions that I have. And so this is going to be 3xy. Sorry, I'm just gonna write it out here real quick. And so what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and I do apologize again. I think my head is working a little bit too fast for my. And so this one's going to be 15x squared plus xy minus 6y squared. So I'm going to rewrite my factors here. Should have factored that out at the beginning. I am made enough mistakes here to last me a year. So 15x squared, and then I'm going to do negative 6y squared. So this is going to be 5x and 3x. This is going to be 15x and x. I do apologize for that. So it's going to be negative 6 and 1, 6 and negative 1, negative 2 and 3, and then 2 and negative 3. And so I'm going to try the, I'm going to do the 5x and the 3x. And then I'm going to go ahead and try at this point in time, I do have a positive xy. And so I can't put the 3 with the 3. And so in this case here, I'm going to do negative 3 and a positive 2. I'm going to try that one first. So 5x and 3x is 15x squared. 5x times 2 is going to be 10x. Negative 3 times 3x is negative 9x, and that's going to be a negative 6, right? So I'm going to gotta put a y there, so I do apologize. And so this is going to give me my xy that I needed. Simply because I do have let me backtrack here. So it's going to be 15x squared plus 10xy minus 9xy minus 6y squared. And so you can see that in this case here, I'll end up with my xy. And so when you have a square term and a square term, you have to make sure that you put it in both of them. And so I made the mistake of not multiplying the y there because I put it in after the fact. So I have to go back and make sure that that was in there. And so you can see that I ended up with my my positive xy and my negative 6y squared and my 15x squared. And so the factored form of the original one ends up being negative 3 times 5x minus 3y times 3x plus 2y. And so, again, trial and error, just can be a little bit more involved than some of the other ones. But in this case here, it's just a matter of trying to get, you know, the factored form of the trinomial that you're presented with at the beginning. All right. All right, moving on, go to the next one. All right, so I already gave you guys, so in this case here, I have -4x squared, positive 26xy, and a -440y squared, right? And so, I can't, you know, 4 doesn't divide 26, so I can't do that one. 2 divides, all of these, right? Because they're all positive. And so I am going to factor -2. And so that's going to give me, for this one, it's going to give me 2x squared minus 13xy plus 20y squared. Right, so -2 times 2 is -4, -2 times -13 is a positive 26, and then -2 times 20 is a -40. And so here I have my 2x squared. Here I have my 20y squared. So this one's just going to be 2x and x, right? It's a prime number, which is kind of nice. This one here, I can do 20y and y. I can do 4y and 5y. I can do 2y and 10y. And so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it here with my parentheses. It's going to be 2x and x. And so now what I'm going to do is essentially just kind of write it out and see what I can come up with. And so I have, in this case here, I'll have my, the original one was my -4x squared plus 26x. And then I had my, my -4y squared, right? And so I'm going to try my 2x and x, right? I took out my -2. Since I need to get to 13y, if you think about the 20y and the y, right? And so let me just go ahead and do it here real quick so you guys can see it. Right, so 2x and x is my 2x squared. 2x times 20y is my 40xy. And then I'll end up here with my xy. So that's not going to get me to my -13. Or yeah, my -13, if you will. And so one of the things that I can do here, since that's a -40, I can also do, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way. But just remember that I can change up my values or my signs basically. And then I'm going to use this -20 and then y, right? So I can interchange those here in a minute. And so my y and my 20y, it won't work for me, right? And so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try my my -4y and my 5y. So I'm going to do my 5y here. I'm going to do my -4y here. Again, I'm not going to pair up the 2 with the 4 because I can still factor out a 2. And so now I'm just going to multiply it out, right? So 2x and x is my 2x squared. 2x times -4y is -8y. 5y times x is my, in this case here, is going to end up being my, actually, they're both going to be negative. Lord Jesus. Should have had some breakfast before this. And then that's going to be my positive 12y, 20y squared. So here I get my 13xy. And I do apologize for the back and forth with my signs here real quick. And so I tried my 2x and x. It's a positive 20, so one of them they both have to be either negative or positive. Since my middle term is negative, then I knew that both of them should have been negative, and that's why I went back and put the negative with the 5. And so just, you know, some of those rules with C is positive and things like that, it just kind of makes it kind of gives you an extra tool to eliminate some combinations. And so in this case here, my factored form ends up being this one right here, which is a -2 and then 2x minus 5 and then x minus 4y. And so just a few highlights and some of the things that I kind of tripped up here. The 20y squared, right? They're both positive or they're both negative. Even the 2x squared, you can also try the -2x and the negative x, because -2x times negative x is a positive 2x squared. And so just sort of remember that, right? If it's negative, then obviously, you know, one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative and things like that to multiply that out. So in this case, again, when you have an x squared and a y squared term, make sure that you put the y's in there and the x's in there. So when you multiply it out, you'll end up with the y squared. The middle term will have your xy, and then your first term obviously will have your x squared. And so it sort of makes it a little bit easier to sort of you know, get these done, if you will. Right, so here's another one, right? So 2p squared minus 8p plus 3. So I have 2p squared and I have 3. So 3 is just going to be 1 and 3 or -1 and -3. 2 is going to be 2p and p or -2p and -p. And so I'm going to try these different combinations. And so I'm going to have my 2p and p. I'm going to try since this is negative, I'm going to try the negative ones. So I'm going to do, I'm going to try -1 and I'm going to try the -3. And so I have 2p times p, which is my 2p squared. 2p times -3 is 6p. That's a -p, and then that's a +3. So you can see that this one's going to give me -7p, which is not what I need. And so I'm going to go back. And I'm going to try the -3 and the -1. So 2p times p again is my 2p squared. 2p times -1 is -2p. -3 times p is -3p, and then that's a +3. But that's going to give me a -5p. And so at this point in time, when I look at what I have left, which is a +1 and 3, that's not going to work, right? Because I need a -8. And so the other thing that I can do is I can try the -2p and the -p, right? So I'm going to try the 1 and the 3. So -2p times -p is +2p squared, -2p, -6p. And then this is going to be a +1. And so here I have my -8p, right? And so you can see that at this point in time, right? So I did the -2p times the p, which gave me a +2p squared. -2p times 1 is -2p. 3 times -p, oh, that's a 3p. Oh, really batting 1,000 today. And then the 3 times the 1 gives me the 3. -5p. And so I tried all of the combinations. There's really nothing else for me to try. If I do the -1 and a -3, a negative and a negative is going to be a positive. So those middle terms are both going to be positive. And so that's not going to give me to my -8p. And so this one is a prime polynomial. And so in other words, in order to find the solutions, we'll have to do something else in factoring, right? So we can't just factor it because it's not going to work for us to sort of get to where we need to get. All right, let's try the next one. Here's another one. So I have 3a squared and I have 4. So 4 is going to be 4 and 1. It's going to be 2 and 2. -4, -1, and then -2, -2. This one's going to be 3a and a, and I can also have -3a and -a, right? So I can get to where I need to get. So I'm going to try the 3a and the a. And so at this point in time, what I'm going to do now is try the 1 and the 4. So I'm gonna do 1 plus 4. So obviously that's gonna be my 3a squared. This really needs to start working. So right off the bat, you can see that I'll get 13a in the middle if I do the 1 and the 4. And so that's not going to work for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and try a different one. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna do the plus 4 and the plus 1. 3a squared plus 3a plus 4a plus 4. That's gonna give me 7a. So that's not, that also is not going to work. So I'm gonna do the positive 2 and the positive 2. So again, the first term is easy, right? Because I already know that one. So that's gonna be 6a and then 2a. So that's not going to give me my a that I need. And so if I can't try the negative, because then the middle term is going to be negative, right? But the middle term is positive. And so I tried the 4 and the 1, the 2 and the 2. And essentially neither one of those works. So the last one I'm going to do is a negative. So I'm going to do the positive 4 and the positive 1, right? So this is going to be a positive 3a squared minus 3a minus 4a. That's not going to give me my positive a that I need. So I'm going to do the positive 2 and the positive 2. So again, my positive 3a squared, negative 6a, negative 2a, that's still not going to give me my positive a that I need in the middle term. And so essentially, you know, I've tried all different combinations, none of them work. And so this is a polynomial, a prime polynomial. Now, one thing about saying that it's prime, right? Usually that's a choice when it's a multiple choice factoring problem. You have to be careful. You know, you can have 5 or 6 problems of factoring, and you might have one of them that's prime. So if you're going through these and you have 3 of them that's prime or 4 of them that's prime, you know, because you had some difficulties getting there, you can almost rest assured that either all of those are going to be incorrect or, you know, most of those are going to be incorrect. And so before you say that something's prime, make sure that you exhaust all of the combinations and not just sort of get lazy, if you will, and just say that it's prime, because usually, you know, if you have 4 or 5 problems, you know, you're not going to have 3 of them be prime. You might have one, if at all. You might not have any of them be prime. So just a heads up on that. So just be careful with that when you're doing the midterm and things like that. All right, so this one here, what we have is, we'll have, in this case, we have 3x to the 4th, right? And then we have 8x to the 2nd power. And then we're going to have it plus 5. And so what we have here, right? My first term is 3x to the 4th. My second term is 5. So 5 is just going to be 1 and 5, and then -1 and -5. Again, that's positive and that's positive. So that means that it's just going to be the positive ones. In this case here, I have 3x squared and x squared, right? Because I need to get to 3x to the 4th, so they're both going to be squared.
Is there a reason why you don't factor out an x for any reason?
Because this one doesn't have an x, the 5 doesn't have an x to give me.
Okay.
Now, if it did have an x, then yeah, I would factor out an x. But since it doesn't, then I don't. You can't. Essentially, it's if it doesn't have it to give it to you, you can't take it from it. If that makes sense, right? Like if it doesn't have the x, you can't take an x from it. All right, so now I'm going to try the 3x squared and the x squared. And I'm just going to go ahead and try the 5 and the 1. So 3x squared and x squared is 3x to the 4th. 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared. 5 times x squared is 5x squared, and then 5 times 1 is 5. And you can see that this one is going to give me my 8x squared. And so therefore, the original one, 3x to the 4th plus 8x squared plus 5, factors out to 3x squared plus 5 and then x squared plus 1. Questions on that one? All right. Here we have another one, right? So in this case, we have 2y to the fourth minus y squared and then minus 15, right? And so 2y to the fourth, negative 15. So negative 15 can be negative 15 and 1, can be 15 and negative 1, can also be negative 5 and 3, or can be 5 and negative 3, right? 2y to the fourth, 2y squared and y squared. I can also do the negative 2y squared and a negative y squared. I'm just going to write them down there, even though even if I don't actually use them. And so I'm going to try the different combinations here. So I'm going to do the 2y squared and the y squared. Now, if I look at the negative 15 and the 1, I need to get to negative y squared, okay? And so I'm just going to go ahead and do it here so you guys can see it. So this is going to be 2y to the fourth, right? Plus 2y to the second power minus 15y to the second power. So you can see right off the bat that that's not going to get me to where I need to go. And so I'm going to go ahead and flip these. So I'm going to do the plus 1 and the negative 15. So the first term, we know that's never going to change. And so this is going to be negative 30y squared plus y squared. That's not going to get me to the negative 1. So that's not my combination either. And so even if I do the plus 15 and the negative 1, don't remember if I did this one or not. But notice the middle terms, right? It's going to be negative 2y squared plus 15y squared. That's not going to get me to the negative y squared, so it's not that combination. So I'm going to try the other one, which is the negative 5 and the positive 3. So 2y squared is, it's going to be 2y to the fourth power plus 6y squared minus 5y squared. So notice how here we'll end up with a positive y squared. And so what that's telling me is that all I need to do is look at my sign. So that's a plus, that's a minus. So I'm going to do this one plus, I'm going to do this one minus. Oops. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this again. And this one should get me to where I need to go. So minus 6y squared plus 5y squared minus 15. And so this one factors out to be 2y squared plus 5 times y squared minus 3. And so you can see that we tried different combinations and didn't get me, the first few didn't get me to the negative y squared. I tried the negative 5 and the 3, that didn't get me there. And so then I just switched the signs. If that would not have gotten me there, then I would have changed the order. I would have put the 3 first and then the 5. And then I would have tried that one too. But neither one of those got me until I did the positive 5 and the negative 3. Questions on this one? All right, so that's 14.3. Let me stop sharing my screen here real quick. All right, let me do 14.4. And like I said before, 14.4 is really just an extension of 14.3. But in this case, what we do is we do the AC method, which is essentially factoring, obviously, but what we do is we multiply the A and the C term. So the first thing, again, factor out GCF, multiply the coefficients of the first and last term. So you do A times C. And then find integers whose product is AC and whose sum is B, right? If you can't find no pair of integers, then it's a prime polynomial. And then obviously rewrite the middle term. And then that's, that would be the next to last step. The last step is you factor by grouping. And so you'll see what that looks like here in a second. So here we have the first example that we have would be my 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. And so if I do 2 times 6, I get 12. And so I'm looking for factors of 12 that add up to 7. Well, factors of 12 that add up to 7 would be 4 and 3. Right, so 4 times 3 is 12, 4 plus 3 is 7. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to extend the 7 into 3x and 4x. And so at this point in time, since we have 4 terms, we're going to go ahead and do factoring by grouping. So I have 2x squared and 4x. I can factor out a 2x, which is going to leave me x plus 2. I have 3x and 3. I'm going to factor out 3x and a 6. I'm going to factor out a 3. Remember, in the parentheses, it has to be the same. And so this factors out to be 2x plus 3 times x plus 2. And so remember, A was 2, B was 6, so AC was 12. And that's how I got the 12 there. After you do that, you break up that middle term into the 2 terms that you got. Usually I paired the 4 with the 2 because obviously that's a factor, and the 3 with the 6 because 6 is a factor of 3. So there are some things that kind of makes it a little bit easier to think about what it is that you have to sort of pair up to factor. And so you're just really looking for multiples basically. Here's another example. So 2 times 3 is 6. And so we're looking for factors of 6 that add up to 5, which is going to be 2 and 3, right? 2 times 3 is 6, 2 plus 3 is 5. So it's going to be 2x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 3. So notice how I paired the 2x with the 2x squared and the 3x with the 3. I'm going to put it in parentheses. 2x squared and 2x, I can factor out a 2x, which is going to leave me x plus 1. 3x plus 3, I can factor out a 3, which is going to leave me x plus 1. And then I'm going to put those together, right? So it's going to be 2x plus 3, and then x plus 1. And so obviously you can decide, do you like the AC method? Do you prefer the trial and error method? So it's entirely up to you. Honestly, if you do everything correctly, you're going to get to the final answer basically. So it just depends on whether you prefer to do the first one or the second method. So here's another example. And so I'm going to rewrite this one. So it's going to be 8x squared minus 2x minus 3. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, obviously, I'm going to write out my, the factors of 8 times 3. And then I'm going to write out my 8 times 3 and then factors of 8 times 3 that are going to add up to negative 2x basically. And so 8 times 3, right? So 8 times 3 is going to be 24. So we're looking for factors of 24 that are going to add up to negative 2. Right? That's what we're looking for here, to try to solve this one, if you will, right? And so if we list the factors of 24, right? So we have 1 and 24. We have 2 and 12, right? We have 3 and 8. And so we have 4 and 6. And so if you think about 4 and 6, right? So 6 minus 4 is a positive 2. And so if I make this one a negative 6 and this one a positive 4, so negative 6 plus 4 is going to give me my negative 2. However, if I do negative 6 times, oh my God, hold on a second, because I am really batting 1,000 today. Good Lord. I'm gonna have to do a do-over in today's lesson. Positive 6. Actually, no. It is, I had it right the first time. 8 times -3. -24. That add up to -2. So it's gonna be -6 and 4. So, okay, so I was on the right track. I just needed the negative on the -24. So 8x squared. This one, I'm gonna do the positive 4x, and I'm gonna do the -6x in this one. So remember, if there's a negative outside, that's gonna turn into a positive. If I factor out a 4x, I'm gonna end up with 2x plus 1. Here, if I factor out a 3, I'm gonna end up with 2x plus 1. So remember, you have to have the same thing within the parentheses. And so this one factors out to 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. So I do apologize for that one there. I've loaded up on mistakes in today's lesson. Lord Jesus. All right, so 8x squared minus 2x minus 3 factors to 4x minus 3 and then 2x plus 1. Questions on this one? All right, let me see what else we have. Okay, here we go. So here I'm going to pair these. I'm going to rewrite this one. So it's going to be 6w squared plus 13w plus 6, right? And so 6 times 6 is 12. So we're looking for factors of 12 that add up to 13, which obviously is going to be 12 and 1, right? So 6w squared plus 12w plus w plus 6. And so now what I'm going to do is sort of just pair these up. So I'm going to pair that one up. I'm going to pair that one. So 6w squared and 12w. It looks like I might be able to take out a 6w on that one, right? Because I have my 6w squared and 12w, so it looks like I can take out a w basically. And so here 6w and w, I'm going to take out a 6w. Take out a w, I'm going to end up with w plus 2. Now, in this case here, what happens here is, notice how I have a, in this case, I have a 6w squared and a 12w. I took out a 6w, right, which left me with w plus 2. So 2 times 6w is 12w. But then I had a w plus 6. So the only thing that I can take out there is just a 1, right? And so what happens is, if you notice, I don't have, in this case here, I don't have, oh my God. All right. I swear to God, I don't know what the heck's going on in my head today. But I am totally off. Let's do this again. So you guys are gonna have to just forgive me for just making so many mistakes today. And I do apologize. I ended up at 12 and I should have multiplied them, not added them like an idiot. So let's restart this one. Hopefully that's the limit of my mistakes for the day. And so 36, I have 1 and 36, right? That's the first one that I have. I can also have 6 and 6, right? And so I can also have 4 and 9. So you can see that the 4 and the 9, 4 times 9 is 36, 4 plus 9 is 13. So I'm going to list these out now. And so here I'm going to do the 4w, the 9w plus the 6. Hopefully now the rest of it goes smooth and no more mistakes. So here I can take out a 2w, which is going to leave me with 3w plus 2. Here I can take out a 3, which is going to leave me with 3w plus 2. Whew. Wow. It's not like I've been doing this forever. And so I'll end up with 2W plus 3 and then 3W plus 2. And so I do apologize there. And hopefully that's the last mistake, because I have way over exceeded the limit of mistakes for the day, actually for the next 6 months. And so this one ends up being this one right here. And so 6 times 6, right? I rewrote it. 6 times 6 is 36. Factors of 36 that add up to 13. List out the factors of 36. Ended up with 9 and 4. Wrote it as a 4-term expression. Pair them up, 6W squared and 4W, 9W into 6. Factor out of 2W of the first one, factor out of 3 on the second one. Stayed with 3W plus 2 within the parentheses, which is exactly what I need. And then I put the ones that I took out together, so it ended up being 2W plus 3 and 3W plus 2. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see if I can not make any more mistakes. And so here I have a 10, an 85, and a 105. And so it looks like I can take out a 5x. And when I take out a 5x, I'll end up with 2x squared minus 17x plus 21. Right, so 5x times 2x squared is my 10x to the third. 5x times negative 17x is my negative 85x squared. 5x times 21 is my 105. And so now I'm going to do 2 times 21, which is 42. And then factors of 42 that add up to negative 17, right? That's what I'm looking for. So 42, I do 1 and 42, right? The next one is I do 2 and 21. I can also do 3 and 14. So you can see the 3 and the 14 is going to give me 17, right? If I add those. And so it looks like it's going to be negative 3 and negative 14, right? So negative 3 times negative 14 is a positive 42, which is what I need. And then negative 3 plus negative 14 is my negative 17. And so here I'll end up with, I'm going to write it without the 5x right now. So it's going to be 2x squared minus 14x minus 3x plus 21. I'm going to pair these up. So I pair that up since that's a negative. This one's going to turn into a negative. So here I can factor out a 2x, which is going to be x minus 7. Here I can factor out a 3, which is going to be x minus 7, which is exactly what I need. And then I'm going to end up with, and I got to bring the 5x down, so don't forget the 5x. And so my original term, 10x to the third minus 85x squared plus 105x is equal to 5x times 2x minus 3 times x minus 7. So that one went smooth. Questions on that one? On anything that I did there? So factored out a GCF, right, which happens to be 5x, and then I multiplied the a times the c, which gave me 42. I found factors of 42 that add up to negative 17, which is negative 3 and negative 14. Negative 3 times negative 14 is a positive 42. Negative 3 plus negative 14 is negative 17. Wrote them out with 4 terms. Put my parentheses. Make sure you change the sign. So the 21 becomes a negative 21. And then obviously I ended up with x minus 7 in the parentheses and then the 2x minus 3 in the second set of parentheses. Questions on that one? All right. Okay, so here we're going to do, we have 9y to the third minus 30y squared plus 24y. So it looks like 3y. So 3 divides all of them. And so that's going to be 3y squared minus 10y. And then the next one is going to be 8, right? And so now I'm looking for factors of 8 times 3, which is 24, and then factors of 24 that add up to negative 10. Not my negative 10y, just a negative 10. And so list my 24, so it's 1 and 24, right? It's 2 and 12, so 2 and 12, right? So 12 minus 2 is 10. And so here I'm looking again, 8 times 3, my A is 3, my C is 8. And so 8 times 3 is 24, factors of 24 that add up to negative 10. And so I'm just also going to write that one there just in case. And so in this case here, I'm looking to see if I can factor this one completely, right? And so when I have my my different terms, if you will, what I'm looking for is obviously that I can get back to my my original, right? That's the one that I'm looking for. And so what I have to do is just be careful with my signs. And then I should be, I should be fine once I sort of kind of get it out there. And so in this case here, I took out my 3y. I have my 3y minus 10 plus 8. And so what I'm trying to do now is sort of find factors of 24, positive 24, that are going to give me my negative 10. And so one of the things here obviously is that my 24 is, or my 8 is positive, right? And so since my 8 is positive, then we know that and if we go back to the original one, so that 8 is positive, so then the signs are going to be very specific in the sense that they're going to be the same. And so when I look at this one, I'm looking for, again, factors of 24, right, that are going to give me that negative 10. So I got my 4 and 6 here. So negative 4 and negative 6, right? So negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. Negative 4 plus negative 6 is negative 10. Just write this out here. So it's going to be 3y squared minus 6y minus 4y plus 8. I'm going to go ahead and put this in parentheses. Remember, the sign is going to change because that's a negative outside. So here it looks like I could take out a 3y. I'm going to be left with y minus 2. Here I can take out a 4, which is going to be y minus 2. So it's going to be 3y minus 4, y minus 2, and then I have to have my 3y in the front. So don't forget this GCF. Sometimes students forget to bring it back down, and obviously, believe it or not, one of the choices could be 3y minus 4 and y minus 2, simply because they're going to figure that you forgot to bring down that 3y. Questions on this one? All right, so here's another example. And so in this case here, we have in front of us, we have the following, right? So we have negative 18 x squared plus the 21 xy, and then plus the 15y squared. And so I'm going to factor out a negative 3. When I factor out a negative 3, I'm going to end up with 6x squared minus 7xy minus 5y squared. Right? And so that's what I'm looking for, if you will. And so at this point now, I'm going to do the 6 times negative 5, which is negative 30. And I need factors of negative 30 that are going to give me negative 7, right? That's what I'm looking for. And so factored out a negative 3, so negative 3 times 6 is negative 18, negative 3 times negative 7 is a positive 21, negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15. So factors of negative 30 is 1 and 30. Negative 30 and 1. I can also have -2 and 15, or 2 and -15, right? I'm still trying to get to that 7. I can also have 3 and -10. So 3 times -10 is -30, and then 3 plus -10 is -7. And so this one's going to be 6x squared plus 3xy minus 10xy minus 5y squared. Right? I'm going to put it in parentheses. I'm going to change my sign there. So in this case, it looks like I can factor out 3x. Factor out of 3x, looks like I'm going to be left with 2x plus y. Here, it looks like I can factor out a 5y, which is going to leave me with 2x plus y. So it's going to be 3x minus 5y, and then 2x plus y. Bring down to -3, don't forget that one. And so that's the factored form of the original that we had, which ends up being -3 times 3x minus 5 times 2x plus y. Questions on that one? All right. I'm gonna use this one for extra for you guys. I don't think I gave you one in this section. All right, give you a moment. Those guys who want to write it down. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, so AC method, so 2p squared minus 8p plus 3, so it's going to be 2 times 3. Which is 6, and so we're looking for factors of 6 that add up to -8. Well, factors of 6 is 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. None of those are going to get me to -8, and so this one's a prime. Again, like I said before, you'll have, you might have some prime polynomials if you get this on the midterm and stuff like that, but not all of them, or not the majority of them, are going to be prime, so just a heads up on that. All right, moving on to the next one. So here we have 4 and 2. Is going to be 8, and factors of 8 that add up to 5. And so 8 is going to be 1 and 8, and then 2 and 4, right? 1 plus 8, 1 minus 8 is not 5, 2 plus 4 is not 5, 4 minus 2 is not 5. And so therefore this one is going to be prime. So this one's a little bit faster than doing it the other way with the trial and error method. But just heads up that if it's going to be prime, it's going to be prime no matter how you try to factor it. Questions on this one? All right. Here's another one. And so here we have similar to one of the ones that we had at the beginning. So it's going to be 2x to the 4th plus 5x squared plus 2. And so we're going to do the 2 times the 2. 2 times the 2 is 4. We're looking for factors of 4 that add up to 5, which would just be 1 and 4, right? So 1 plus 4 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. And so we're going to have 2x to the 4th plus 4x squared plus x squared plus 2. Put my parentheses. Here I can take out a 2x squared, which is going to leave me with x squared plus 2. Here I'm going to take out a 1. And so I'll end up with 2x squared plus 1, and then x squared plus 2. So this one, again, just remember the x squares because it's an x to the 4th. But the same thing, we did 2 times 2, which is 4 factors of 4 that add up to 5, 1 and 4. We laid it out in 4 terms, and then we did the grouping, and we ended up with the final answer, which is 2x squared plus 1 and x squared plus 1. Questions on that one? Okay, so here we have another one. So in this one, we'll have 3y to the 4th plus 2y to the 2nd power and then minus 8. And so 3 times -8 is -24. So we're looking for factors of -24 that add up to a positive 2. So here we have -24 and 1. We have 24 and -1. We also going to have in this case here, we can have -2 and 12 or 2 and -12. And so if you look at the 12, so 12 plus -2 is going to give us obviously a 10. So we're looking for some other factors in this case. So we're going to do 8 and 3, so 8 and -3. And so when we do this one, we're going to see if how we can pair up these different factors, if you will, right? So we did 24 divided by 3, so we're going to also have -8 and 3. And so again, 3 times -8 is -24, factors of -24 that add up to 2, right? So we'll go down the list here to see if we can get to some value, if you will. So here we have 4 and -6, and then -4 and 6. So -4, 6 plus -4 is going to be a positive 2, so it's going to be 6 and -4. So 3y to the 4th plus 6y minus 4y minus 8. Do my plus there, right? So I'm going to take out a 3y. 3y. Let me just make sure that this is going to be squared. So I'm going to take out a 3y squared, and it's going to end up being 3y squared, and then I have a y squared plus 2. Here I'm going to take out a 4, which is going to be y squared plus 2. So I'll end up with 3y to the 2nd power minus 4, and then y squared plus 2. Okay, questions on that one? All right, so 14.3 and 14.4, I do apologize for some of those mistakes. My brain was not quite catching up to the rest of me. All right, so I'm going to upload the notes here as soon as we finish the meeting, and then I'll upload the recording once it becomes available, which should be in the next few hours. Again, I do apologize. I don't know what was going on in my brain today, so my apologies to you guys. Questions, comments about anything before we end the meeting?
I have a question about one of the quiz questions. I just wanted to know if you're able to go over it once everybody's gone, if they haven't taken it yet.
Which quiz was it?
Quiz 2 is like the 3rd question. I think I emailed you about it.
Quiz 2. I think I don't, let me see. Oh yeah, was it here? I can show it here real quick because the answer is not popping up. All right, so the answer to this one is there.
Okay.
It is there. And so the ones that you put in the message, those were not correct. But like I said, it's in there. So I went through it again and just to kind of double check to make sure that there wasn't a mistake somewhere, but the answer is there. Now I don't think you can take it twice. If you want, send me another message and I'll go ahead and work it out for you and send it to you. If you want to do that, because this closes today, so I don't know if people haven't taken it yet. But send me a message and I'll go ahead and work it out for you so you can see the step-by-step on how to solve it.
Okay, thank you.
So you're welcome. Okay. Any other questions, comments about anything?
For the quiz 2, do you know which chapters they're based off of?
I believe it's going to be 11 and 12, I think.
It was like just on 12. It was
Oh,
nothing.
12, okay.
Oh, just
so-
12? Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you guys for showing up. You guys have a good rest of the day, rest of the week, safe weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Again, my apologies for today. My brain was just not working. I think it finally got caught up to me in the last few problems, but I do apologize for those mistakes and missteps. So, all right, you guys have a good one. Thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.